How to start budgeting with a cashless envelope system. I know I look at this unconventionally. I'm not an accountant or a financial planner, but I look at it practically from a lifestyle point of view. What is the lifestyle I want? And how can I make the most of the money I have without putting myself into the stress of having to work more to spend more? And I can have quality of life daily instead of feeling like it was something that I have to put on hold to get. Hey, I'm Serena.Ryan. I run Dollarized e-commerce agency. I'm a mum of two. My son said, "Hey mum, don't you like spending time with us?" He stopped me in my tracks to realise I'd had it all around the wrong way. I was terrible with money. Money for me was like water and it went straight through my fingers. Finding a way to turn that around, my mum saw me with money and my paycheck, and she would see that within 48 hours of me being paid each week, that it would disappear. And inevitably, before the end of the pay week, I'd be asking for a loan. How to start budgeting with a cashless envelope system. I was living beyond my means. When my mum introduced me to the envelope system in my 20s, I found it so amazing. When I stuck to it, I was able to go and buy my first home. I see how I've been able to transform my financial future again by instigating the cash envelope system. Thanks to technology, I've found a way to do it electronically so I don't have to be reliant on having the manual envelopes that are not practical and easy to take with me anywhere. Steps I've followed to implement the electronic cashless envelope system are: open up 5 new bank accounts. What I did was, it's super easy through my bank, and I recommend you go and check with your own bank on this one. I was able to get 5 new accounts set up online. They have these online saver accounts that make it nice and easy. They aren't accounts that get a card that you can withdraw money from, but rather they're set up and designed to be savings accounts. The 5 of them, I label them with home, bills, food, entertainment, savings. Those 5 accounts, once they're set up, it's then a matter of sitting with your budget and figuring out what you can automatically allocate to each account from your pay. The pro tip for me and the game changer for me is getting this allocated from payday so you don't see it in your main account. My main account doesn't actually have a bank balance automatically in it because I split the money into those 5 accounts. And then each day I make a point of figuring out what I need to do the next day and transferring from those 5 accounts for what is needed. The home account doesn't get touched. The home account is there for the rent or the mortgage to be withdrawn. It ticks over and I never see it. So there's never a pain or wonder if I've got to cover that, because it immediately comes out of my pay that way. When it comes to bills, this is about being aware of all the bills that you pay. And it took me a little while to track this, as coming from someone who didn't track things as regularly as I should have. Make a point of going through all the obvious bills that you would have, such as insurances, utilities, making sure you're getting your electricity paid for, and your water, and if you're paying rates on a home, making sure you see what all those bills are, add them up over a course of a year, and divide it by the amount of times you get paid. I get paid fortnightly, so I make sure that that average of that amount goes into that account. Now, initially to start, you may need to try and put a little bit more in there to cover, but this is a transition phase, and I found it actually took me around 2 to 3 months to get this working like a well-oiled machine. But I did get there eventually by tracking my spending along the way and seeing how I could tighten things up so that once it was up and running well, I could then relax a little, knowing that I didn't have to worry about the money going into different accounts. It was all being taken care of and there weren't going to be any nasty surprises coming up for me in the future. Food. Food is a bit trickier, but not impossible. I've worked out by tracking what I'm buying each week, how much my weekly groceries are, and allocate that approximate amount into that account. I say approximate because I allow about a 20% leeway because the price of food can fluctuate and what we want to buy each week can fluctuate. The way I worked out our food budget was to track the spending not just by week, but over a month or so, about a month to 6 weeks. And that has meant I can find out what my average cost on food per week is, and that's the amount that gets allocated per pay into that account. Next are my two favorite things, savings and entertainment. Savings, I like to have that account set up so I can save for those bigger things that aren't a part of the everyday. Things that I could dream about doing, being able to have a good holiday, or saving up for that next new camera I would like, or that next dress or shopping adventure I want to have. These are the discretionary things that are a bit bigger, and I need to save that little bit more to have. Being able to put a little bit away, and again, this depends on your circumstances. In my case, initially when I started this account, because I was trying to get bills covered and transition, I was only putting around $10 to $20 a week into this account. The best way I looked at this was to put money in savings that I wasn't going to miss. So starting small, and as you get confidence, working out that you could put a little bit more in there as you learn to work a little bit differently in this space. The entertainment account, again, I only started off with $10 or $20 per pay and keeping it at that. It's only as I get breathing space on the essential items I can look to put a little bit more into these accounts. I know I look at this unconventionally. I'm not an accountant or a financial planner, but I look at it practically from a lifestyle point of view. What is the lifestyle I want? And how can I make the most of the money I have without putting myself into the stress of having to work more to spend more? And I can have quality of life daily instead of feeling like it was something that I have to put on hold to get. One of my favorite things to do is to buy an annual zoo pass for around $110, and that lasts the full 12 months, and you can go to the zoo multiple times, and it becomes really economical the more you use it. So looking for those opportunities rather than feeling like we always have to be on a treadmill of spending a lot of money to have quality time with family, friends, and entertainment. So technically, I've already started, before you watch this video, with one account. When I put the envelope system in place, that account went from 1 to 6 accounts. 5 accounts aren't everyday accounts, they're technically online savers, and most banks have them these days. You get those online savers, you label them with those key names of home, bills, food, entertainment, and savings. Then each night, before you're ready for the next day, have a ponder, have a consideration of how the next day is going to go and what money from those key areas needs to be transferred. Now, the home account you shouldn't be touching, the bills account you shouldn't be touching, and the savings account very rarely, unless the next day is something really super special. And that comes down to only needing to transfer money either from the food account, usually once a week, or from the entertainment account. Everything's set up to work finely tuned, and as someone who has become a non-budgeter or a non-traditional budgeter is how I like to be known, being resourceful and making the most of the money in that way means I'm working on a cash system, not using credit cards, and using an electronic envelope system successfully. If you're looking for more ways to be better with your budgets for business and life, subscribe to the Better Budgets channel. New videos are released weekly.